The silence of my house at 2 in the morning was a sacred thing, a thick, velvet curtain that separated me from the ghosts of the day. It was the hour my late husband, Ronald, used to call the bottom of the night, a time when the world held its breath. But that night, the curtain was torn apart by a sound that didn't belong, a frantic, rhythmic banging on my front door. It wasn't the polite knock of a neighbor or the cheerful rap of a delivery person. It was a sound of pure desperation, a fist striking wood with the last vestiges of strength. My heart, a slumbering old bird, leaped into a frantic flutter against my ribs. I threw on my silk robe, the one Vivian had always called ridiculously extravagant, and hurried down the stairs, my hand gripping the smooth, cool wood of the banister. Through the peephole, the world was a distorted, fish-eyed nightmare. A figure was slumped against my door, a dark mass of hair obscuring a face I knew better than my own. Vivian. I fumbled with the deadbolt, my fingers suddenly clumsy and foreign. The moment the door swung open, she collapsed inward, a marionette with its strings cut, landing in a heap on the polished hardwood of my foyer. A low, guttural moan escaped her lips, a sound of such profound pain that it seemed to vibrate through the floorboards and up into the soles of my feet. The hall light cast a cruel, unforgiving glare on her. Her beautiful face, the one I had memorized in every stage from infancy to adulthood, was a grotesque mask of swelling and discoloration. A deep, angry purple bloomed beneath her left eye, and her lip was split open, a ragged tear from which a trickle of dark blood snaked its way toward her chin. Her designer blouse was torn at the shoulder, and a constellation of angry red marks, the distinct shape of fingers, encircled her wrist. The sight of her, my only child, broken and bleeding on my floor, was a physical blow. The air rushed from my lungs, replaced by a cold, metallic dread that tasted like old pennies. This was the moment I had been fearing for 7 years, a premonition that had lived like a coiled serpent in the pit of my stomach ever since she married Travis. "Vivian," I whispered, my voice a dry rasp. I knelt beside her, my old knees protesting, and gently tried to turn her face toward the light. She flinched, a wounded animal recoiling from a touch it could no longer trust. "Oh, my baby. What did he do?" The question was rhetorical. I knew what he did. I had always known. In that deep, instinctual place where a mother's love and fear reside. I had seen the seed of this night years ago, a tiny, almost imperceptible crack in the facade of their perfect marriage. It was at a family barbecue, not long after they were married. Vivian had been laughing, throwing her head back with that carefree joy she so rarely displayed anymore, and for a split second, I saw it, a small, ugly bruise mottling the inside of her upper lip. When I asked her about it later, her eyes had darted away. "I bit it," she'd said too quickly. A few minutes later, she told my sister she'd walked into a cabinet door. The contradictions hung in the air between us, a foul, unspoken accusation. I had pressed her, my concern making me clumsy and harsh. "A cabinet door doesn't do that, Vivian. You need to tell me the truth. Is Travis hurting you?" The wall had slammed down instantly. Her face hardened, her voice turning to ice. "How dare you? You're just looking for problems because you never liked him. You want my marriage to fail because you're miserable and alone." Her words had been a slap, a cruel dismissal of my love and a sharp, painful reminder of my widowhood. Ronald had been gone for 5 years at that point, and the loneliness was a physical ache, a constant companion. A few months prior, I had cautiously accepted a dinner invitation from Arthur, a kind gentleman from my gardening club. Vivian had found out, and her reaction was nothing short of venomous. "Are you serious, Mom? It's disrespectful to Dad's memory. What will people think?" Her disapproval felt like a judgment on my grief, as if my moving on, even in the smallest way, somehow invalidated the 40 years I had shared with her father. So when she accused me of wanting her marriage to fail out of my own misery, it cut to the bone. We had a terrible fight, a shouting match filled with years of unspoken resentments. I was too controlling. She was too critical. I meddled. She pushed me away. The argument ended with her storming out, and the subject of the bruise, and of Travis, was buried under a thick layer of angry silence. We never spoke of it again. We fell into a strained, polite rhythm of weekly phone calls and holiday dinners where everything was painfully, performatively fine. But I saw the light dimming in her eyes month by month, year by year. I saw the way she started to dress in long sleeves, even in the summer. I saw the way she flinched if Travis moved too quickly behind her. And I said nothing, cowed by her previous accusations and terrified of driving her away completely. Now, kneeling on the cold floor with my broken daughter in my arms, that silence felt like a crime. My cowardice, my fear of her anger, had left her undefended. I helped her to her feet, her body trembling uncontrollably against mine, and guided her into the living room. I sat her down on the plush velvet sofa, the one Ronald and I had picked out together, and rushed to the kitchen for a first aid kit and a bag of frozen peas. When I returned, she was staring blankly at the family photos on the mantelpiece, a smiling, carefree girl on a swing, a proud graduate in her cap and gown, a radiant bride on the arm of a man who is now revealed to be a monster. Her gaze was distant, as if she were looking at the life of a stranger. I gently cleaned the cut on her lip, my hands shaking with a rage so profound it felt like a physical illness. It was a dense, heavy thing, settling in my chest like a block of lead. This was not the sharp, fleeting anger of an argument. This was a cold, permanent fury that solidified my spine and cleared my mind. He found out I was talking to a lawyer, she finally mumbled, her voice thick from her swollen lip. Just an initial consultation. To see what my options were, she looked up at me, her one good eye pleading for understanding, for an absolution I was not sure I deserved to give. He went through my phone while I was in the shower. He just exploded. She didn't need to describe the explosion. It was written all over her body. For a long time, we just sat there. I held the bag of peas to her cheek while she wept, not with loud, theatrical sobs, but with the silent, exhausted tears of someone who had nothing left. The dam of denial she had so carefully constructed for 7 years had finally burst, and the flood of pain, fear, and humiliation was washing everything away. And in the ruins, something new was beginning to form. The wall between us, built of pride and resentment and misunderstanding, crumbled into dust. She wasn't the critical, dismissive daughter anymore, and I wasn't the meddling, overbearing mother. We were just two women, a mother and a daughter, united against a common enemy. "We are not going to let him get away with this," I said, my voice low and steady, imbued with a certainty that surprised even me. The fear was still there, a cold undercurrent, but the rage was stronger. It was a shield. "He will not do this to you again." Ever, Vivian looked at me, a flicker of her old fire returning to her eyes. "He'll deny it, Mom. He always does. He'll say I'm crazy, that I fell. He'll turn everyone against me. He's so charming, so believable." "I know," I said. "He's a performer. But the performance is over." In that quiet, pre-dawn hour, surrounded by the ghosts of a happier past, a plan began to take shape in my mind. It was not a plan born of vengeance, not entirely. It was a plan born of necessity, a strategy for survival. If we called the police now, it would be her word against his. He would charm them, lie to them, and paint her as hysterical. He would be released, and he would come back angrier, more dangerous. No. We had to be smarter than him. We had to dismantle his life with the same cold, calculated precision he had used to dismantle hers. The next morning, after a few hours of restless, nightmare-filled sleep on the guest bed, Vivian looked like a ghost haunting the edges of my sun-drenched kitchen. The swelling on her face had worsened, the purple deepening to an ugly, mottled black. I made her coffee, strong and sweet, just the way she liked it when she was a teenager cramming for exams. She cradled the mug in her hands, her fingers still trembling slightly. "He's been calling," she said, gesturing to her phone, which lay face down on the granite countertop as if it were a venomous creature. "And texting. First, he was furious. Then it was all baby, I'm so sorry, I just lost my temper. Please come home so we can talk, she shuddered. That's the cycle. The explosion, the apology, the promises. And I always believed him. Not this time, I said, placing a plate of toast in front of her. She didn't touch it. I pulled up a stool and sat opposite her, my mind working with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Vivian, we need evidence. Undeniable proof. His words. His actions. We need to build a cage for him, and every recording, every photo, will be another bar on that cage. She stared at me, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and dawning hope.
How?
He's so careful. He never loses his temper in front of anyone else. He loses it with you, I stated simply. And that's where we'll catch him. I explained the idea that had been solidifying in my head all night. She would have to go back. It was a horrifying thought, a terrible risk, but it was the only way. She would go back, but she would go back armed. Not with a weapon, but with technology. A tiny digital recorder, small enough to hide in a pocket or a purse.
A camera pen.
We would document everything. The verbal abuse, the threats, the gaslighting. We needed to create a library of his cruelty. The color drained from her face. Go back. Mom, I can't. I'm terrified of him. I know, sweetheart. But think about it. If you stay here, he'll come here. He'll make a scene. He'll try to drag you out. He'll paint me as the interfering mother-in-law who is poisoning his wife against him. But if you go back, on your own terms, you control the narrative. You tell him you overreacted, that you just needed some space. You play the part of the forgiving wife one last time. And while you're playing it, you gather the evidence that will set you free forever. It was a cruel, dangerous strategy, and asking her to do it felt like pushing my own child back into a burning building. But I saw no other path. His power lay in the privacy of their home, behind the closed doors, where his charm evaporated and his true nature emerged. We had to bring a light into that darkness. We spent the rest of the day planning. I drove to an electronics store in the next town, a place where no one would recognize me, and purchased the smallest, most sophisticated recording devices I could find. While I was gone, Vivian called her best friend, Rachel, to cancel their lunch plans for the week. I heard her side of the conversation when I returned. Her voice was strained but steady as she lied, saying she had a terrible flu and was staying with me to avoid infecting Travis. Oh, you poor thing. I heard Rachel's tinny voice squawk through the phone. Is there anything I can do? I can bring over some soup for you and Travis. The mention of his name, so casual, so friendly, sent a chill down my spine. Vivian ended the call quickly. She's always been so supportive, Vivian said, her expression clouded with guilt. I hate lying to her. I said nothing, but a sliver of suspicion, sharp and cold, lodged itself in my mind. Something about Rachel's effusive sympathy felt hollow. That evening, we rehearsed. Vivian, wearing a high-necked sweater and a skillful application of concealer makeup I hadn't known she was capable of, went back to her house. The plan was for her to tell Travis she had spent the night at Rachel's, that they had a girls' night, and she had tripped on the stairs in the dark. It was a flimsy lie, but it was just plausible enough to test his reaction. She carried a small digital recorder, activated and hidden in the pocket of her jeans. I waited at home, my stomach a knot of anxiety. Every minute that passed felt like an hour. I paced the length of my living room, my mind conjuring 1,000 terrible scenarios. I imagined him seeing through the lie, finding the recorder, his rage escalating beyond anything he had done before. My hands were ice cold, and I found myself praying for the first time since Ronald died. Praying to a God I wasn't sure I believed in anymore, begging for my daughter's safety. 2 hours later, she was back, slipping through my door as silently as a shadow. She was pale but unharmed. She wordlessly handed me the recorder and collapsed onto the sofa, burying her face in a cushion. I took the device into my study, plugged it into my laptop, and put on my headphones, my heart pounding against my ribs. The audio was clear. At first, it was his voice, dripping with false concern. Viv, baby, I was so worried. Where were you? I called you 100 times, then came her lie, her voice trembling slightly. I was at Rachel's.
I
fell down her stairs. I was embarrassed. There was a pause, a beat of silence that felt heavy with menace. Then his tone shifted, the sweetness curdling into something sharp and accusatory. Fell down the stairs? You're a clumsy idiot, you know that? Look at your face. You look pathetic. And you couldn't even bother to call me? You just run off and leave me to worry? How selfish can you be? The verbal assault continued, a relentless stream of insults and belittling comments. He called her stupid, worthless, a disappointment. He blamed her for his stress. He told her she was lucky to have him because no one else would ever put up with her. Listening to it felt like swallowing shards of glass. This was the man my daughter had loved, the man I had welcomed into my family. The sheer venom in his voice was horrifying, but it was also exactly what we needed. It was the first bar in his cage. Over the next 2 weeks, Vivian played the role of her life. She was the dutiful, apologetic wife. She went back to their house, armed each day with a new device, a pen in his home office, a recorder in the car, another one in their bedroom. Each night, she would return to my house, a safe harbor in the storm of her life, and we would review the day's recordings. The library of his cruelty grew. We captured his rages over trivial things, a misplaced set of keys, a dinner that was 5 minutes late, a comment from a neighbor he didn't like. We recorded him threatening to ruin her financially, to tell her boss she was mentally unstable, to turn her own friends against her. He was meticulous in his psychological torture, breaking her down piece by piece, and we captured every sickening word. It was an emotionally draining process. Some nights, Vivian would just sit and cry, overwhelmed by the sheer ugliness of the truth she was now forced to confront head-on. I would hold her, stroking her hair like I did when she was a little girl with a scraped knee, and whisper, "We're almost there. Just a little longer." You are so brave. During this time, I had my own confidant. My next-door neighbor, Martha, a retired judge with eyes that missed nothing and a tongue as sharp as a razor, had seen Vivian's car coming and going at odd hours. One afternoon, as I was watering my petunias, she came over to the fence. "Phoebe," she said, her voice low. "I'm not one to pry, but I saw Vivian the other morning. Her face. Is everything all right?" I hesitated for only a moment. I trusted Martha implicitly. She had navigated the darkest corners of human behavior for 40 years on the bench. I invited her in for tea, and I told her everything. She listened without interruption, her expression growing sterner with each detail. When I finished, she simply nodded. "Good," she said. "You're doing the right thing. This is a strategic operation, not a domestic dispute. You need to be methodical." She gave me the name of a brilliant and notoriously aggressive divorce lawyer. She also gave me a piece of advice that would prove invaluable. "Men like Travis are arrogant," she said, stirring her tea. "They believe they're smarter than everyone else. That's their weakness. But their arrogance often makes them sloppy in other areas of their lives." "He's cheating on her, isn't he?" The question hung in the air. I had suspected it for years. There were the late nights at the office, the hushed phone calls he would take in another room, the faint scent of unfamiliar perfume on his shirts. But Vivian had always refused to see it. "He would never," she used to insist. "He loves me." Martha's words planted a seed. If we could prove abuse, we could get a restraining order and a favorable divorce settlement. But if we could prove adultery, we could destroy his reputation. We could detonate the carefully constructed image of the perfect husband and successful businessman he presented to the world. The target became twofold. We needed to document not just his cruelty, but also his infidelity. The opportunity came unexpectedly. Travis announced he was going on a weekend business retreat to a resort a few hours away. Vivian's intuition, newly sharpened by weeks of vigilance, screamed that it was a lie. While he was in the shower, she checked the booking confirmation on his laptop. It was for a couple's spa package. A wave of nausea washed over her. He wasn't going alone. That afternoon, Vivian received a call from Rachel. "Hey Viv, I feel so bad we haven't seen each other," she chirped. "I was thinking since Travis is away this weekend, maybe you and I could have a girls' weekend? We could go to that new spa resort up in the mountains. My treat." The pieces clicked into place with a sickening finality. The best friend. The supportive confidant. It was the oldest and cruelest cliché in the book. Vivian played along, her voice a marvel of control. She told Rachel she couldn't, that she was still feeling under the weather and just wanted to rest in my house. After she hung up, she vomited in the bathroom. The betrayal by her husband was a deep wound, but the betrayal by her best friend was a poison dagger. That night, the plan was revised. It was no longer just about escape. It was about exposure. Complete and total annihilation of his public persona. Vivian, her eyes hard and bright with a new, colder fury, agreed to the next phase. It was my idea, a gamble born of a mother's protective rage. I hired a private investigator, a discreet professional recommended by Martha's lawyer. He was expensive, but I would have gladly sold my house to pay for what was coming. I gave him the name of the resort and a photograph of Travis and Rachel. I told him I wanted everything. Photos. Video. Proof that was ironclad and irrefutable. The weekend was the longest of my life. Vivian and I stayed at my house, trying to distract ourselves with old movies and puzzles, but the tension was a living thing in the room. We were waiting for the axe to fall, for the final piece of evidence that would bring this whole rotten structure crashing down. On Monday morning, the investigators' report arrived in a plain manila envelope. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside were dozens of high-resolution photographs. Travis and Rachel checking in, his arm possessively around her waist. Travis and Rachel laughing by the pool, her hand stroking his chest. Travis and Rachel kissing on the balcony of their suite, silhouetted against the sunset. The images were slick and glossy, like something out of a travel magazine, but they depicted a scene of breathtaking ugliness. The final photo in the stack was the most damning. It was taken through the window of a restaurant. Travis was sliding a small, velvet box across the table to Rachel. Inside was a diamond necklace, the very one Vivian had pointed out in a jewelry store window months ago, a birthday gift she had hoped for but never received. He had given her dream to another woman. That was it. We had him. We had the recordings of his abuse, and now we had photographic evidence of his affair. The cage was complete. We spent the afternoon with a lawyer Martha had recommended, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Ms. Albright. She listened to the audio recordings, her expression impassive, and examined the photographs. When she was done, she looked at Vivian, her eyes softening for the first time. "You have been through a terrible ordeal," she said, "but you have also built an airtight case. We will file for restraining order and divorce tomorrow morning. The police will be escorting your husband from the premises. He will not be allowed near you or this house." The relief was so immense it was dizzying. Vivian began to cry again, but this time, the tears were not of pain or fear. They were tears of liberation. The next day was a blur of calculated action. Vivian, with Ms. Albright by her side, went to the courthouse. I stayed home, waiting. At precisely 10 o'clock, I watched from my living room window as 2 police cars pulled up to Vivian and Travis's house across the street. I saw them knock on the door. I saw Travis open it, a confused, then arrogant, expression on his face. I watched as his expression morphed into disbelief, then panic, as the officers presented him with the papers and informed him he had 10 minutes to gather his personal belongings and vacate the property. He started to shout, to protest his innocence, to call Vivian crazy. But the officers were unmoved. They had the recordings. They had the order. His performance had finally met an audience it couldn't fool. They escorted a sputtering, enraged Travis to his car. As he was about to drive away, he looked across the street and saw me standing in the window. Our eyes met. In his, I saw pure, unadulterated hatred. In mine, I hope he saw nothing but the cold, calm satisfaction of justice. The performance was indeed over. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. The arrest, combined with the infidelity lawsuit, sent shockwaves through their social circle. Rachel was exposed as an adulteress, her reputation shredded. Her husband promptly filed for divorce, and she became a social pariah overnight. Travis's carefully curated image as a charming family man was shattered. His business partners grew distant, clients canceled contracts, and the world he had built on a foundation of lies began to crumble. He tried to fight, of course. He hired an expensive lawyer and launched a smear campaign, claiming Vivian was vindictive and unstable. But we had the recordings. In court, Ms. Albright played a curated selection of his most vile tirades. The judge's face was a mask of stone. Travis's denials withered and died in the face of his own voice, dripping with venom and contempt. He was found guilty of domestic assault and handed a sentence that included anger management, community service, and a permanent restraining order. In the divorce, Vivian got the house, a significant portion of his assets, and most importantly, her freedom. But freedom, I learned, is not a destination. It is a journey. The legal victory was the end of one chapter, but the beginning of another, more difficult one, the healing. The bruises on Vivian's face faded, but the invisible scars on her soul remained. She was plagued by nightmares, by anxiety, by a profound sense of shame for having stayed so long. She moved back in with me temporarily, and the early days were fragile. The old, toxic dynamic between us threatened to resurface. I found myself wanting to manage her life, to tell her what to do, to protect her from every possible future hurt. My instinct was to smother her with the care I had withheld for so long. And she, in her vulnerability, was tempted to let me. One afternoon, about a month after Travis was gone, I came home to find her on the sofa, surrounded by takeout containers, watching daytime television. She hadn't left the house in 3 days. "Vivian, sweetheart," I said, my voice softer than I intended. "Maybe you should go for a walk. Get some fresh air. It's not healthy to be cooped up like this," she immediately bristled. "Don't tell me what to do, Mom. I'm not a child, the old pattern. My meddling, her defensiveness." But this time, something was different. I took a deep breath, remembering a conversation I'd had with Martha. "Love her, Phoebe," she'd said, "but let her find her own way back. Your job isn't to carry her anymore. It's to walk beside her." I sat down, not next to her, but in the armchair opposite, giving her space. "You're right," I said, my voice calm and even. "You are not a child, and I'm sorry. I won't tell you what to do, but I will tell you that I love you, and I am here for you when you decide what you want to do next. My only job is to support you, not to direct you." It was a turning point, a boundary drawn not in anger, but in love and respect. It was the beginning of our new relationship. From that day on, I practiced the art of stepping back. When she decided to start therapy, I didn't ask what she talked about. I just told her I was proud of her. When she decided to sell the house she had shared with Travis, I didn't offer my opinion on the listing price. I just helped her pack boxes. When she decided to enroll in a postgraduate course she had abandoned years ago, I didn't question her career choice. I just took her out to dinner to celebrate. I learned to listen more than I spoke. I learned that supporting her didn't mean solving her problems. It meant trusting her to solve them herself. Slowly, painstakingly, the daughter I remembered began to emerge from the shell of the woman Travis had created. Her laughter, once a rare and precious thing, became more frequent. The light returned to her eyes. She started seeing friends again, real friends, who had been horrified to learn the truth and rallied around her with fierce loyalty. She reconnected with her passions, joining a hiking club and a pottery class. She was building a new life, brick by brick, on a foundation of her own strength. And our relationship, once so fraught with tension and misunderstanding, became my greatest joy. We found a new rhythm, one based on mutual respect and genuine affection. We had dinner together once a week, not out of obligation, but because we enjoyed each other's company. We could talk for hours about everything and nothing. The ugly silence that had defined us for so long was replaced by an easy, comfortable honesty. One evening, about a year after that terrible night, we were sitting on my porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Vivian turned to me, her expression serious. "Mom," she said, "I've never properly thanked you. You saved my life." A lump formed in my throat. "Oh, Vivian," I said, reaching for her hand. You saved your own life. You were the one who had to walk back into that house. You were the one who found the courage to leave. I just opened the door, she squeezed my hand. You did more than that. You believed me, and you taught me how to fight back. But most of all, you let me heal on my own terms. You gave me back to myself. We sat in comfortable silence as the last sliver of sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the world in a soft, peaceful twilight. The ghosts of the past were finally at rest. The anger had cooled, leaving behind not a scar, but a quiet strength. I had lost a husband, and for a time I thought I had lost my daughter too. But in the wreckage of her marriage, we had found each other again, not as we were, but as we were meant to be. Two strong, independent women, a mother and a daughter, bound not by obligation or guilt, but by a love that had been tested by fire and had emerged unbreakable. The night was no longer a time for fear. It was a time for peace, a velvet curtain of quiet contentment. And for the first time in a very long time, I felt truly, completely at home. What would you do in this person's place? I often wonder how many others have faced similar shadows and felt just as alone as my daughter and I once did. Every story of survival is a beacon of hope for someone else who might be lost in the dark. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on our story, and please share your own wisdom if you feel comfortable. Write me where you heard this story. It's always fascinating to see how far these messages of strength can travel across the world. I truly hope this story resonated with you. If it did, and you want to support the creation of more content like this, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Your support means the world to me and allows me to continue sharing these important narratives. For those who are able to contribute further, the Super Thanks feature is enabled, and any donation helps keep this community thriving. There are many other stories waiting for you, each with its own journey from heartache to empowerment. With heartfelt greetings.
Until next time.